Yesterday clarified a little bit and give you some new information. Now, first up, despite all that's going on in the Republican primary, of all places, U.S. News and World Report, now, this is not a magazine that is any way sympathetic to Republicans. This is not a magazine that has the desire for Republicans to do well. There is a poll out in U.S. News and World Report. It's been reported by Paul Bedard, I think is how he pronounces his name, in the Washington Whispers portion of Newsweek. And essentially it is that Americans, 2-1, when asked what they fear the most about the future, say Obama's reelection. So while all this stuff on the Republican side is going on, the news media, you must always remember that while the news media will get into every nook and cranny in detail about the so-called defects or defects and the problems with Republicans, at the same time, they are outwardly, purposefully ignoring any negatives associated with Obama. Would you also be interested in knowing, a Gallup poll that we had yesterday that showed the 40% of the country is now independents. They say they're independents. And 31% say that they are Democrats, 27% say they're Republicans. If John Hood pointed this out in North Carolina, if you read further, and most people don't, we're a headline society when it comes to news, but if you read further in the Gallup story, what you would learn is that most independents in that Gallup survey, 40% say that they're independents now. Most of them plan on voting Republican. Most of them lean Republican. Vast majority of them. So there is that. And speaking of the independents, yesterday we mentioned that Gallup magically came up with that poll. A 10% increase in self-described independents is up to 40%, but most of them are Republicans. And guess what? Today they have a poll, Gallup does, where they claim that now a majority of conservative voters are ready to accept Romney as their candidate. But it's not portrayed as Republicans are excited to accept Romney. It's that they're ready to bite the bullet and say, okay, to hell with it, give us Romney. That's what Gallup is out with today. That a majority of conservative voters, not just Republicans, a majority of conservative voters now ready to accept Romney as their candidate. Very convenient on the day of the New Hampshire primary. So here we have two primaries, the Hawkeye with 120,000 votes? We got New Hampshire, what's that, 350,000 votes? Is that what's the total? I think it's 350,000 people are going to vote the Republican side in New Hampshire. It's a small number of votes that is determining the Republican nominee and so forth. So you have with this Gallup poll out today, clearly, and you can be from Mars and vote in the New Hampshire primary. You don't have to have a photo ID. You can be an independent. You can do it. You can go in there today and vote if you want. Remember, we had this where everybody wondered, how did Hillary win? Obama came out of Iowa big time in 2008. Then Hillary goes into New Hampshire, starts crying. Remember, she broke down and cried. I forget over what. And whereas Obama had busloads of people from outside Iowa going into the Hawkeye, there are a lot of people from outside New Hampshire went in and voted for Hillary. It's not quite that loosey-goosey, but it's not battened down real tight either. But when it comes, despite all this happening on the Republican side, when it comes to how Americans view Obama going into the new year, there appears to be very little spirit of auld lang syne. I'm reading from U.S. News and World Report here. Instead, according to the new Washington Whispers poll, many voters are not forgetting what they dislike about Obama and want him out of office. In our New Year's poll, when asked what news event they fear most about 2012, Americans by a margin of 2-1 said Obama's reelection. I don't know how widespread this is. I don't know if you've heard of this before I mentioned it. Have you heard this, Snerdley? I don't know. There aren't a whole lot of people read U.S. News anymore, and I don't know how outside the bounds of U.S. News and their website this has spread, but it's fairly relevant, given that U.S. News is not someplace that's eager to see Republicans win. In this poll, only 16% said that they fear the Democrats won't win a second term. 33% said they fear 4 more years of Obama. Now, next to Obama's reelection on the what do you fear most, 31% of Americans said they feared higher taxes, which it does not bode well for Obama, because the two go hand in hand. Obama equals high taxes. So you got Americans 2-1. The thing they fear most is Obama's reelection. And those that had something else as their number one fear cited tax increases. Well, I think when you add those together, you come up with a pretty decent majority here that fear Obama, period. And what he's going to do. But as to be expected here from U.S. News, it says here the poll does hold out some hope for Obama. Some 38% of younger Americans, 18 to 24, said their biggest fear was higher taxes. Just 28% of those same voters said they feared Obama winning. So the young people who don't vote don't have as great a fear of Obama winning. But how stupid are they? They do say that higher taxes are their greatest fear, but they're not worried about Obama. What the hell? Who equals higher taxes here? Who stands for higher taxes? Who's been dying and talking about raising people's taxes? The Democrat Party and Obama. So here was the question as we enter the presidential election year of 2012. What potential news event do you fear the most? Obama wins re-election, 33%. Taxes will increase, 31%. Iran will get a nuclear weapon, 16%. Obama will lose re-election as the number one fear, 16%. And North Korea will attack South Korea, 4%. You always get 4% of oddballs in any poll. So while all this is going on with the Republicans, all of this backbiting, infighting, all this destructive stuff, I just want you to know that as far as the people of this country are concerned, Obama is not the answer. They are not looking forward to his reelection, and whatever is happening in the Republican primary is not making Obama look better. Nothing is. And this, to me, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is quite comforting because, I live in the now. I am Mr. Reality. I live in Literalville. And the now and Literalville, look at our country. What state is it in? In a sane world, nobody would want anybody to be reelected who's had anything to do with giving us our current circumstances. And apparently, a majority of Americans are of that feeling and point of view, which is very, very comforting. So, to recap, U.S. News, Americans 2-1 when asked, what do you fear most about this coming year, say Obama's reelection. By 2-1. Gallup poll yesterday, 40% of Americans now say they're independents. Read deep, read long, and you find out that the majority of them are Republicans or are leaning in that direction. Now, Obama can't keep employees. You have Bill Daley, the Politico. You talk about being in a tank. Bill Daley quit as the chief of staff. You know what the Politico headline is? Why Daley had to go. No, the headline is why Daley had to quit. This is a fourth chief of staff in 3 years. The economic team has abandoned Obama. It is snurdly, it's the the chief of staff in the White House is the person closest to the president, does all the scheduling, controls access to the guy. You want a meeting with Obama, you got to go through the chief of staff. At least that's normally how it has always worked. May not work that way with Obama. That's why they leave. 4 of them. If this were a Republican president, what the stories would be? Why is this guy so hard to work with? What do all these wonderful employees hate about the president? Why can't he keep his economic team intact? And they'd be looking, is the first lady driving them off? They'd be looking at any number of possible explanations for this. But no, Bill Daley leaves, and the Politico, why this scumbag had to go. Well, scumbag's not in the headline, but I mean, Daley quit. He quit a year earlier. He said he would see Obama through the election. He decided over the holidays to quit, told Obama about it. Obama didn't want him to leave, and Politico's headline is why Daley had to go. Now, they could say, Mr. Limbaugh, you're misinterpreting our headline. All we mean is why Bill Daley thought he had to go. That's not what the headline like that means. When you write a headline why Daley had to go, the implication is clear why he had to be gotten rid of. That's it. So that's shoring up Obama. So look, I'm not trying to ignore that there are problems on the Republican side. What's going on here? But I'm hell-bent on telling you that it's not sweetness and light and hunky-dory and milk and roses and so forth on the Obama side. There is real trouble there, and they know it on the Obama side. Speak of which, F. Chuck Todd, I think, is the latest to let the cat out of the bag on the Obama campaign preference for Romney. We had Donna Brazile, who let that cat out of the bag on Saturday night. George Stephanopoulos tried to rein her in, but more of the drive-bys are letting this go. Now, remember about Bill Daley. Daley was brought in as a response to the Tea Party victories in the midterm. And Daley was brought in because he has ties to Wall Street. Daley, that's where he was. It's where most Democrats are, is on Wall Street. And Bill Daley was brought in because he had the ear of people on Wall Street. He was also brought in as a response to the Tea Party victories. He was a token to show that Obama was moving to the center. But it never happened. Obama didn't move to the center, and so the tokenism aspect of Daley blew up. We now know that Michelle Obama and Valerie Jarrett didn't want a move to the center, and they really weren't crazy about Bill Daley being brought in. And so now, Bill Daley, sayonara, vamonos, adios, out of there. So not only can Obama not get along with members in Congress, he can't get along with people his own staff. Pure and simple. I mean, they brought Daley in to further this idea of Obama reaching across the aisle, compromise, all that sort of stuff. But then there wasn't any. There wasn't any compromise. And guess who gets blamed for that? Daley. So, well, I'm not going to sit here and take the blame for something that my boss isn't even trying to do. So I'm out of here. I'll roll my dice with Rahm in Chicago. That's where I'm comfortable anyway. So it's not hunky-dory in the White House, and there's not robust happiness in there, and there's not a whole lot of confidence in there, and it's not going smooth as silk in there. I don't care what is happening on the Republican side. In fact, it's safe to say that what's happening on the Republican side is not redounding in a positive way to Obama. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to get started on trying to put in perspective what is happening on the Republican side, because there is so much hypocrisy in this. Somebody's going to have to wade through it, and who better than me?